Before we get right into part 9 of the Grant Amato interrogation review, thank you for your patience. Happened again for the second true crime series analysis in a row. After part 8, a can of worms opened up in my personal life that took me away from it for a while. And I'll spare you the details on that other than to say, I just hope that the kids appreciate what we do for them. Unlike Grant Amato, who clearly did not appreciate what his family did for him, which is a major contributing factor to how he ended up where he is today, which is locked away in prison for the rest of his life. And where we left off in the interrogation was sliding into the murder territory subversively, because on the table, what Grant is describing is how while he was away at the addiction clinic, while he was on vacation in Japan with Cody and Cody's friend, the first significant periods of time that he was away from home and away from his parents, what was going on back at home was that his dad, Chad, was hacking into his computers and finding all of his little dirty secrets, changing all of his passwords, and severing all of his ties to Sylvie, the cam girl that he wasted all of his family savings on. So, which was the unfortunate nexus for the poor Amato family. That was pretty much the point of no return. They finally put their foot down on the guy, and that's around the same time he started hatching his scheme. And there are many things to elaborate on this time in their lives. For one, in the interrogation itself, as Grant is describing this, how his dad was kind of putting all these handcuffs on Grant, who, need I remind you, was a 29-year-old man old enough to be called a grandpa. We got to Eva Marie Malteri's first sniping comment where she's using doublespeak kind of, where she's saying things that appear on the surface to be going along with Grant's story and supporting him, but for any impartial observer, you can tell that she's just taking shots at him, because Grant, through the course of the interrogation, for the reasons we've covered, is trying to paint himself in a certain way and is unintentionally painting himself the way that all grown adults who take responsibility for their actions see him. So she fired her first shot that we covered in the last part of the series, and now Anderson's going to join in with that detective doublespeak, because he says about Grant's dad taking away all these privileges of limiting his internet, taking away his time, saying you have to be cold turkey, no more Sylvie, no more internet porn. That's the cause of all this, and we need to take it out of your life now. And you just got to get used to that and move on. So Danny Anderson's double meaning snipe is, so he's treating you like a small child. And that would really sting in actual someone who's not just grown in age, but grown mentally and emotionally. And Grant, in his summation of a reply, he says, yeah, I can kind of see where he's coming from because I was acting childish. I can kind of see where he's coming from. And that shows a tad of self-awareness that he's, agreeing with Anderson's point of view that, yeah, he did have a right to treat me like a small child because I was acting childish, but only a little bit of self-awareness and not complete self-awareness, because a mature man would say, yeah, I'm lucky he didn't hang me upside down and lash me with razor whips for what I did to the family, taking all their money, taking away their retirement, making them have to work half their lives away until the day they die, which they literally did because of Grant. They worked to their final day for multiple reasons. So he's just saying, I kind of see where they're coming from because I was acting childish, whereas any responsible adult would say they were lucky to get out of there with their life, because a jury who takes accountability a mature jury would look at this situation and say, wow, the dad hung him upside down and lashed him with razor whips? That's awful. How could he do that? Oh, because Grant stole all of their savings, hundreds of thousands of dollars, after he got fired for being a terrible nurse. And he was just laying around addicted to porn, and that's why he stole all the family's money and ruined their future. Yeah, I can kind of see where the dad was coming from, hanging him upside down and lashing him with razor whips. Yeah, it's kind of harsh, but he did kind of deserve it. It would be a tough call for a responsible jury full of consenting adults. So, another thing to consider on this time, this unfortunate nexus in the Amato family's lives, is what Grant says next, which is revealing how his dad, while he was away from the house for the first time, how did his dad come to find out that Grant was still in contact with Sylvie after he was supposed to be cold turkey? No more internet porn, no more of these things that are leading you down this dark path and bringing out the worst in you. How is Grant still getting in touch with all that stuff? Still getting his addiction fix when he should have been cold turkey? And he says that behind the scenes, Mom was letting him use her phone to contact Sylvie on Twitter, behind Chad and Cody's backs. They were both on board with this. Grant can't have any more contact with this, the source of all of his horrible behavior. It was bad before, but now it's reached rock bottom with all of this internet porn stuff. This can go a couple of ways, because remember, Grant Amato is the one saying that Mom behind the scenes was secretly letting him get in touch with Sylvie. So if that is true, it's indicative of how lies tear a family apart. They should have been united on this. In that, because what if, I don't believe it. Spoiler alert, I don't believe this is true. I think it's another lie. Grant Amato's telling it. And for the reasons I'll get into later, it's a lie. But for now, if it was true, for Margaret to do that and say, oh, I know Cody and Dad wanted to keep you away from the thing that you stole all of our money for and wasted it and ruined our retirement years. It's like saying, oh, you're addicted to heroin, Grant. Here's another bag. Don't let Dad and Chad know. Don't let Chad and Cody know. But here's a secret bag. Just don't tell them that I gave you this bag of heroin to feed your addiction. That's what it's equal to. Giving him heroin behind their backs when they're trying to make him go cold turkey so that he can regain some semblance of a normal life as a 29-year-old man. And that just shows you how lies, for multiple reasons, tear a family apart, because it was feeding his addiction, keeping him tied to that dragon that he's chasing. And it leads to them being Cody and Chad, now they don't trust Margaret either, if that was true. But I don't think it was true. I'm inclined to believe that it's a lie, because with all of Grant's sneaking around for the reasons I've already covered, Grant was home all day with Mom, Margaret. She was working for most of the day and doing chores for another portion of the day. Grant was doing nothing. He was laying around like a dog turd in the shag carpet, just stinking the place up. No job, and just looking at the internet whenever he felt like it. Not contributing. So, and we can tell by the way that he does these character studies in this interrogation so far that I've already elaborated on, that he's been paying attention to his family's patterns and to their characteristics and taking the parts of it that will support his cover story to allow him to get away with the murder that he committed. So he's been looking at their patterns and seeing what he can use to benefit himself at their expense. So being home with Mom all day while she's busy with her many responsibilities that take most of her attention through most of the day, and he's had nothing to do except pay attention to it and see the cracks where he can sneak his way in and get what he wants for nothing. He paid attention to when maybe she went to the bathroom, maybe she went over to this room to water the plants, scoop the cat litter box, whatever she does when she's not near her phone. He probably went and snuck her phone away, because there is that clip of him walking out to the mailbox, huddled over the phone, saying, "Sylvie, I'm going out to get the mail now, and I was just hoping that you can send me a little something, Sylvie, because I just love it when you send me something for free, just a little video to send to me." Yeah, pathetic. But I have a couple questions about that video. If mom behind the scenes was letting him use her phone, why on this big open property where no one can hear the gunshots significantly enough to report it to the police? They had to be questioned later after the crime happened if they heard anything. On this big open property with no one there except his mom, why does he have to huddle over the phone while he's talking, hiding the phone from where no one can see it except his mom in the house? And why does he have to whisper what he's saying if mom is in on it? He was doing it to keep it a secret from her too. He doesn't want her to know either. So this is a lie. Mom wasn't behind the scenes letting him do it. He was sneaking it away and doing it himself. And now that she can't tell her side of the story, he's just making up a lie about her. Go back and watch, if you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch that little video where he's walking out to the mailbox wanting me to send a video. And ask yourself, why does he have to be clandestine about that? If he's on this big open property with no one home but mom, what's the big secret if she's letting him do it? And it's not unprecedented because remember we covered his trip to Japan where he said he was wandering off from his brother and his brother's friend to find Wi-Fi hotspots. And then he said when they were up in the hotel room, he told the friend, "I'm just going to go down and find something to eat for a minute." And he was missing for hours. And they later on found him huddled up in a Wi-Fi hotspot. He had stolen his brother's tablet and stolen his brother's friend's credit card to get in touch with Sylvie in secret. So now taking mom's phone from home at work and going out to the mailbox with it, that's just the same pattern of behavior. So I just feel sad for anyone would believe that Margaret would do that. It's possible. I wasn't there. I don't know the family at all. But based on everything we know of it, it's highly likely, in my point of view, that he was sneaking it away and now is using her absence as a chance to just work her into his story, just use her however he needs to help him get away with the murder. And finally, the last thing I want to elaborate on with this Chad going into all of Grant's secret stuff and finding it and disconnecting him from Sylvie is just poor Chad. Poor the whole family. I feel sorry for the whole family, but poor Chad most of all because he's been working 12 hours a day. He's gone for 13, another hour for hygiene. That's 14, another hour for meals. That's 15. Another hour to take care of his own personal business. He's getting up there in age. There's health problems, doctor's appointments, bills, sending you terms and conditions, changing companies, just all the stuff we have to deal with every day. And in his tiny slices of free time, he's having to go into his 29-year-old son's laptop and computer and phone and change passwords, hack into them to find all this stuff where he's secretly contacting the source of his addiction that's taken away his own future, his retirement that he was so close he could taste it, and now it's gone forever. And in his tiny slices of free time, he has to deal with that from his 29-year-old grown man of a son who's just in his house like a parasite. And, I know I've been knocking Grant a lot, but I do still think there's a human being in there, and the evidence of that was at the trial when the company that Chad, Grant's dad, worked for showed the security footage of Chad on his final day that he went into work. Like I said, he worked till his dying day. And his company, for the trial, played the video of him going into work and then leaving work. And while watching that, Grant cried. The human being in Grant realized what was going on there. And here's what he realized, I think. He saw Dad at 5 or 6 in the morning, parking in that parking lot, walking across the street, charging into work, a man on a mission, power walking. He's got business to take care of, and he's going to take care of it. Waving to people on the way by. He's got his briefcase. And then he sits down in that tiny cubicle doing a job that he doesn't really like. He just does it for the money to support his family and to set up his future. For 12 hours a day, half of his life, 3/4 of his waking life, 12 hours a day doing something he doesn't really care about, just to support his family and set up his future. And then gets up and goes home. And he's been doing that every day for most of his life. And Grant cries while he's watching that. And the security lady who was kind of guiding the people in the trial through it said, "Yep, that was Chad." And there was something very poignant about the way she said it in the past tense, because he went home and was murdered by Grant. And I think this was Grant seeing the good side of Dad, because when you live with someone, you see them at their worst. And Grant was always seeing Dad at his worst. He would come home from these long, stressful days and he would want to relax and have to deal with Grant. So he would be stressed and on edge and just want to relax. Grant would see him at his worst. And this was the first time he was seeing the good side, and it made the human inside the parasite cry. He should have realized sooner what his dad was doing for him and appreciated it. Appreciated the upbringing that his family made for him that 99% of all American kids don't get. That big empty property and that lovely house. But I'm getting long, so I'll have to get more into that in part 10, and I'll see you next time.